Hello, y'all, and welcome back. So, we have established that reason and appetite are two different parts, and then we've established that spirit and appetite are two different parts. Now, we've mentioned three tendencies in conflict. Do we not have three parts? Well, we don't, because we've only shown that appetite is opposed in two different ways. So it could be that there's two parts. One is kind of reason spirit, and it opposes appetite sometimes in a calm, rational way, as when you say, best not to do this. And sometimes in a spirited way, as when you say, come on, don't do this. So we need to show that reason and spirit are two different things. How do you show this? Well, Plato says there's two different ways you could show this. One is by showing that one is present without the other. The other is by showing that they're in direct conflict with each other, that they clash. And Plato says, I actually think I can illustrate that they're two different things in both these ways. So first, he says, let's show that spirit is different from reason. He says, yes, provided we can show it is different, as we saw it is earlier from the appetitive one. It isn't difficult to show that it is different. Even in small children, one can see that they are full of spirit right from birth, while as far as rational calculation is concerned, some never seem to get a share of it, while the majority do so quite late. So Plato gives the example of small children. So, small children full of spirit. They have the full range of emotion. This doesn't need to be argued. My kids are the best example of this. They are super high energy. They run, they yell. All their emotions are at max volume. My daughter, her nickname, she lives in Latvia, and her nickname in Latvian is Spridzeklitis, which means little dynamite. So I've got the little dynamite of one of my tattoos, little dynamite there, right? Do small children possess reason? Well, to answer this question, we must first define reason. I've always been fond of the philosopher Wilfrid Sellars' characterization of reason as occupying the logical space of giving and asking for reasons. So my spin on this would be to say that reason is the ability to ask and answer why questions, especially about your own behavior. The ability to ask and answer why questions, especially about your own behavior. Small children can't do this. When you interact with a small child, you keep wanting to interact with them as you would with a peer. Hold them accountable or responsible for doing things on the assumption that they do things for reasons, because they are, after all, human beings. But this is mistaken. Very small children don't do things, in many cases, for reasons at all. I will often have this experience with my son. I mean, there's many ways you could illustrate this. But so I'll be at home with him. He'll say, I want mac and cheese. I want eggies. So I'll make him mac and cheese and eggies and set him up in his little chair and give him his plate and his spoon and everything. And he looks at it and says, I don't want this. And I say, well, why did you ask for it? He said, because I don't want it. There's just, you can't converse with somebody like that, right? Remember when my daughter was about 4, I think, she was riding the car with me, and I had my water bottle, and she said, I want a drink. So I reached back, gave her a drink of water. And she finished the drink of water, 2 hands, and I reached for it back, and she looked at me, holding the water bottle 2 hands, and looked at me and locked eyes, and then went like this, and just dumped the water bottle all over the back of the seat, just tons of water everywhere. And I said, Gigi, why did you do that? And she said, because I dumped the water bottle out, and I made a big mess. And I said, that is an accurate description of what you did, but it does not constitute an answer to the question, why did you do it? If she had been able to give an answer to the question, why did you do it, she would have. But answering why questions about your own behavior is really difficult. If you think that it's easy, it's not because it's easy, it's just because it's really hard and you've been practicing it all day, every day for your entire life. Think about it. To answer a question, why did you do that, right? You have to assess your past experiences with acting on or expressing your desires and the effect that those actions or words have had in the past. So you have to aggregate, sort of, or conglomerate, or whatever the verb is, all of those past experiences, right? And factor that into your expressing your desires now or acting in the world, and your prediction based on past experiences of what you think is going to happen when you express your desires or act on your desires this time. What's likely to happen. That is a really complex psychological process. It takes years and years to develop. It doesn't happen overnight. And for that reason, while small children have an inchoate faculty of reason, they will have it, they don't have it. That is not an ability that you can just develop in a few years. It takes a long time. So they have spirit, but they don't have reason. What does this show? One is present without the other. They're two different things. Boom, we've shown what we need to show. Now, Plato says, I can also show that these are in conflict. Now, he gives a very, very elliptical answer here, but he says, our earlier quotation from Homer bears it out, where he says he struck his chest and spoke to his heart. For here, Homer clearly represents the part that is calculated about better and worse as different from the part that is angry without calculation. The reference here is to Homer's Odyssey. The full story of the context would be too long to kind of get into all the way, but very, very briefly, Odysseus comes home from the Trojan Wars, finds that his faithful wife Penelope is besieged by suitors. He needs to kill these guys. And he disguises himself as a beggar, and before his plan has been, has been executed, he is tempted to blow his cover. He's angered by something he sees. He's tempted to blow his cover, but he knows that if he does this, his plan will be ruined, he'll get killed, and his wife will be married off to one of these suitors. So he has to control his anger. It says he struck his chest. Again, faculty psychology. All faculties are located in some part of the body, and spoke to his heart. If you've ever been in a situation where somebody's getting on your nerves, you want to tell them off, you know exactly what to say, but you have to control what you say because for whatever reason it would be a bad idea to say exactly what you're thinking, you can relate to this. If you've ever been in a situation, just hypothetical, right, where it's late at night and you think that you should text somebody because you want that human connection and your reason says, you idiot, this is a terrible idea. We've been over this 7,000 times. And your spirit says, oh, I'm sorry, were you talking? I was too busy texting her, right? Hypothetical, of course, right? That also would be a conflict between your reason and your spirit, your desire for human connection, and your knowledge of what ultimately would be best. Conflict. That's three conflicts, right? Reason, appetite, and spirit, reason, okay? So we have the three conflicts. We have the three parts. Conflict establishes parts. How does this wrap it up? Answer our question, why be good? We'll see that in the next video. Thanks.